Dr. Ty here, reading from, of course, Single, Saved, and Having Sex. I'm in chapter 6. It indicates right here in page 128 in the last paragraph, note that you cannot prepare yourself for a mate and market yourself at the same time. This is the time for developing and committing yourself to Christ, not the time for dating. You cannot commit yourself to a man or a woman when you are not committed to your relationship with God. You know, I want to spend a few moments with you today in terms of you developing your relationship with Christ, because many of us are more committed to finding love or being with a man more so than the relationship that we have with God. And there's a problem there, because there's no way that you can stabilize any relationship or maintain or be in a successful relationship without developing who you are as a woman in God, developing your character, because it's going to be predicated on the success of your relationships. If you are in and out of your relationship with God, it's going to show up in your relationships with men. If you're not consistently in a romantic relationship with God, there's no way that you can maintain romance with a natural man. So it's very important that you develop a consistent relationship with God on a day-to-day basis. If you are you can kind of like gauge whether you're prepared to be in a relationship or not. If your relationship with God has been stagnant, or you don't have an active prayer life, or your last 3 relationships mirrored one another, they were back to back and no space in between them, then you want to begin looking at your relationship with God, because many times it mirrors our own inconsistency in our relationship with the Father. And that's why a lot of us end up getting back into sexual holes, because we are not consistent again in the relationship that we have with God. If you are looking at your life with God, and if you're struggling with sexual sin, I will be able to look at your relationship with God and tell you why that you're struggling, or why you are in and out of bad relationships, why you are in masturbation, why it is that you continue to have problems with loneliness, because I can tell specifically by looking at your relationship with God. I want you to look at the last 24 hours, look at the last 72 hours, look at the last week of your life. Even in the Summer Night series, if you've spent more time in the Summer Night series than you have with God, oops, then we are in danger, danger, danger. Red light should be blinking on. Because even your relationship with God should be something that's personal, even outside of our studies together in our time, even in Summer Night series, even outside of your time at church. If you are spending more time at church than you are with God, you should panic, because church was never supposed to replace your relationship with God. And the only way that you're going to maintain sexual integrity or to live a life that's sexually pure is that relationship with God. I'm going to show you what that means, because people say, get a relationship with God, get a relationship with God, and you're like, okay, that's foreign language to some of you, and you don't know what that really looks like on a day-to-day basis. A relationship with God is not just you praying and asking for things, or even just, you reading a few scriptures a day. My life is consumed with God, but not religion. And that's the problem with some of you, because you're afraid to have a relationship with God and date Him, because you think that it's supposed to look like a horrific religious combat that you're battling with, and it's like you got to be extreme holy and looking like ooh spooky and walking around and quoting scriptures in every sentence that you speak. That's absolutely farthest from what a relationship with God looks like. On a day-to-day basis, I am probably more with God than I am with myself. I know that sounds crazy, because until you get a lifestyle that's committed to that, then you'll continue to fail. If you are not hidden in God, the Bible says in the book of Acts 17, in him we live and move and have our being. It's my existence. So your life should exist in God, not something you do. It's oh, we're Christians, and so I gotta pray, I gotta get in my word. No, having a relationship with God means on a day-to-day basis, my conversations are with him. My thoughts are consumed or lined up with what he believes. It means that on a day-to-day basis, that prayer is not something that, oh my God, I got to get up and pray. Prayer is simply your communion with God. Now, I'm going to show you how to be able to easily have that relationship with God on a day-to-day basis, where it's not a task or an assignment for you to do, where it becomes a part of your life. Many of you who go to church and you tithe and you give 10% to church, I'm going to show you how to give a tenth of your day to God, where it becomes natural. In the beginning, it was very difficult for me, because it was like, oh my God, I got to get up and pray. I'm supposed to be reading my word. Now it's a part of my natural everyday life. When I say to you, tithe a tenth of your day, that means taking a tenth of the 24 hours and spending it with God. Okay? How do you date God? Easily. I take throughout my entire day. For some of you, you can't take 2 hours and 40 minutes to simply pray. I'm not asking you to do that. Some of you can take 2 minutes in an hour and simply talk with God. Just talk about even your loneliness and issues that you're going with. You know, I'm going to share this with you. There are times that I will be in my relationship with God, preparing this dating stage with him. And I will be on my job, and it was time for me to do my 10th. And when you're first doing this, you develop a habit into doing it. So it's like, okay, it's time to tithe the 10th of my day. But now it's just like natural conversation with me, like I'm having with you. I just sit and just talk to God and say, okay, she just really getting on my nerves right now. You know, it's regular relationship, just as if you would with another human being, with a man. And so you want to be able to get to a place in your life where that relationship is so natural to you. It's like a mother and a child. It's like you and your boss. Or some of you don't have a relationship with your boss. You like panic when he comes around. Some of you are like, well, God was like that. Like, you just saw me have a thought about masturbation. Even when I have thoughts, I literally have conversations with God about that. And I'm saying, Lord, okay, today is one of those days, and I really, really, really am really desiring to have sex today. I really want to, do my thing. Okay, I know I'm a preacher. I know I'm supposed to be this holy girl or whatever, but today is one of those days, okay? And so when you're developing a relationship with God, it's going to be like you're dating. And some of you got to understand what that literally is doing, how it impacts your life. Don't minimize 2 minutes in 1 hour with God. Because there are times that I've stopped just to talk with God before I was getting ready to go into something and say, you know what? My plan was to go in, and I'm tired of this, and I'm tired of waiting, and everybody else is getting married, and I'm on my way into something that's going to be rebellious or something totally against God. And even my conversation with God, cut that off. And so your relationship with God will protect you even when your feelings won't, when your emotions won't. When your brain has left the building, your relationship will keep you. And so if you are not having a day-to-day relationship with God, this is not the time for you to even entertain a relationship with any other man or any other woman for that matter. Because you got to understand that that relationship is fundamental. It's essential to life. And when you get that, when you make that relationship with God more important than anything, then you're prepared to receive any other love outside of that. And then you got to understand this, because even after you begin this dating relationship with God, you'll come to a place where you even have to date yourself. I had to come to know Tithe because I was so consumed with other relationships. I was so consumed with being with someone else, I didn't know how to be with me. And so with that said, as you come into a relationship with God, you'll come into a complete relationship with yourself. And some of the things that you thought were right in relationships and the things that you wanted, it won't even be an option anymore. With that said, tithe the 10th of your day today to be with God, and I promise you'll come into a love relationship. You'll fall deeply, passionately in love with God. And all these other things that are superficial will be obsolete. I love you with God's love, and I look to see you on the other side of tomorrow.